Let's talk about AT&T again because there's more changes coming, it turns out, and this time it really doesn't make much sense. The stuff with DC Comics makes a lot of sense. They're streamlining the company, getting rid of things that don't make money, and in my opinion, a lot of the changes that they're doing to DC Comics will probably help them make a lot of money. I think that they should, for sure, shrink the amount of floppies they put out. The market has shrunk. Put out better, more focused titles with quality creators that people actually want. I think they can rebuild DC Comics and make it a better company. Marvel needs to do the same thing. A lot of the stuff that they're doing over at DC, I think, will make them better in the long run. Whether that happens or not, it's a wait and see, but I do think that some of the stuff they're doing is a good thing. Things have to change in the comic book market. Okay, something's got to change for it to rebound and get healthy again. I think some of the rot has been removed, like Andy Corey, who is a perfect example of everything wrong with the comic book industry, by the way. Andy Corey is a really toxic person on social media, very famous for crapping on fans all day long. He's a head editor, as far as I understand, over at DC Comics. Well, excuse me. He was a head editor over at DC Comics. He was laid off. But he's a perfect example of failing upward in comics. So Andy is a typical NPC. Goes around crapping on customers, telling customers they're trash. He let in a bunch of other NPCs like Zoe Quinn and so on and so on. They gave him an entire line, Vertigo Comics. Here you go, Andy. Make us money. What'd he do? He crashed it. It crashed and burned. Was destroyed. He ruined an entire brand. What'd they do? They gave him promotion to Black Label books. Okay, at a real job in the real world, which doesn't seem to affect comics until now, if you did that, you would probably lose your job. You'd have lost your job then. You crashed and burned an entire brand. Didn't really seem to care. Doubled down on it, in fact. A real job, you usually would be laid off or fired for that. And that's what's happening now. You shouldn't be allowed to fail upward. And everybody said, you're celebrating losing your people's jobs. Look, these people should have probably lost their jobs a long time ago. A lot of these artists and writers that underperform, that don't do well at a real job, that's what would happen. And they would be replaced with people that actually do good. Why is this a crazy idea in comics? I don't understand that, but for some reason in comics, as long as you have the right ideology, the right way of thinking, you got to keep your job. And you got to keep telling customers that they can F off and all of this stuff. Where at a real job, that wouldn't happen. Imagine working at Walmart, and when people walk in, you know how they have greeters? Instead of saying hello, you gave them the finger. And then the manager came up and said, I like the way you work, and promoted them to an assistant manager position. Okay, that's not how the real world works. Something in comics has got to change, and I think DC Comics is doing it right now. But some of the stuff they're doing, some of the things they're doing don't make any sense. So AT&T was going to sell off Warner Brothers Interactive. That doesn't seem to be happening. That's a good thing. Video games you make a lot of money in video games. Okay, the video game industry eclipses all other forms of entertainment, and it's growing. It's going to continue to grow. Okay. It doesn't make any sense to sell a division that's established, makes good studios, like studios that make good games based on the IP that you own, like Rocksteady. Every game they put out is gold. It makes no sense to sell that off. No sense. But they were talking about doing it. It appears that that's not going to happen. I think that's a good thing. That's a smart move. It's a smart move. But another dumb idea that I'm seeing is apparently they're looking to get out of the anime business, which doesn't make any sense at all to me. Okay, you have HBO Max. What makes more sense to me is to roll Crunchyroll into HBO Max, take all of that existing anime over there and roll it into HBO Max and have a robust anime section. That makes a lot of sense to me. Move all of the Crunchyroll people over to HBO Max. The subscription fee is the same. I believe Crunchyroll is $10 a month. It's right up there with HBO Max. And put all of them in there. Hello, Crunchyroll subscribers. Guess what you have today? You have an HBO Max subscription. Not only do you get all of this anime that you had before, and will continue to have, but you're also going to get all this other stuff from Warner. I think that's a win-win. And it would attract people to your platform. Now, Netflix is smart. Netflix put a lot of exploratory and R&D into anime. They did this because they could see the future, and this is why I think Netflix will be able to survive on original content and, you know, all the moves they're making now is because Netflix moved towards the future. Anime and manga are very popular. Manga outsells comics, is seemingly recession-proofed as well, by the way. They're doing just fine, unlike comics. So it makes little sense to me to abandon this. But apparently $1.5 billion is the price they're seeking. They owe about $20 billion or something like that. Is it 20 or 200? I can't remember off the top of my head. You'll have to check that out if you want the exact number. But they owe a lot of money in debt. And they have a lot of low rates that they pay. Make no mistake, one of the reasons behind this is Elliott. Is it Elliott Funding? They're a activist hedge fund group, and their job basically is to gut AT&T, to drive the stock prices up, and then to sell and get out and kind of leave AT&T in a bad way. That's what these companies do. And they own a significant amount of AT&T's debt. Or no, they have a lot of controlling interest at AT&T. And make no mistake, all this stuff going on right now, even with DC, is because of them kind of barking up and yelling at AT&T all the time. That's one of the reasons why a lot of this stuff is even happening. But to sell Crunchyroll makes little sense to me because this is an area of entertainment that's only going to get higher and grow. It doesn't make any sense to me to sell this off, but that's apparently what they're trying to do, and they're trying to sell it to Sony. Sony seems very invested in anime, and I could see them buying this and then rolling it all over into their Funimation subscription service. That kind of would make sense for them and help them make a lot of money. This is very short-sighted, but that's what AT&T is really doing right now, a lot of short-sighted decisions because of Elliott management barking up their ass. The new report details that AT&T is looking to sell Crunchyroll to Sony for as much as $1.5 billion. The report comes from The Information, who cite three people familiar with the situation. The Information is the same outlet that had previously reported that AT&T and Warner Media were having discussions about selling Crunchyroll back in May. Their May report detailed AT&T's Warner Media has had discussions about selling a Crunchyroll. One of the buyers the report detailed they had discussions with was Sony. At the time, they speculated the reasons for selling the company were to reduce debt. And that makes a lot of sense because of everything that's been going on with them. They seem desperate to reduce that debt, which, I mean, they have low rates on it. Why would you buy AT&T and then scramble to reduce the debt? You knew you were going to have a lot of debt. I mean, to me, I would think the best plan would be to make a ton of money and pay it down that way because they're in a good position to make a ton of money. But this just makes little sense to me. The company had faced pressure to reduce debt from shareholder Elliott Management, but they had reportedly cut a deal with them back in October. However, that report from May also indicated that plans to sell Crunchyroll might have changed with Warner Media's new CEO Jason Kilar taking over as well as the result of the ongoing pandemic. The new report also details that Sony is the prime target to purchase Crunchyroll and again claims the reason behind the sale is to reduce debt. The information reports Warner Media's willingness to sell Crunchyroll, which has contributed content to the company's new streaming service, HBO Max, and has been featured in its marketing, also shows AT&T's willingness to sell valuable assets to bring down its $150 million debt load. Okay, it is $151 million. That's a ton of money. Ton of money. But, I mean, you have an opportunity to make a lot of money with anime. I mean, they have the whole Studio Ghibli thing. That's the only place in America where you can stream Studio Ghibli content, which is a big deal. Why wouldn't you double down on that and just bring Crunchyroll completely over? That makes sense to me. This doesn't. Look, this is a growing area. You can make a lot of money from this. It seems stupid to do. It's only going to make Sony more money in the long run. Sony would be smart to spend the money and pick it up, in my opinion. You'd get a lot of licensing rights, and you would only pretty much secure Funimation streaming as the place to go for streaming anime, unfortunately, which I don't like because I hate Funimation. But, you know, for Sony, it makes sense. We'll see what happens. But anyway, this doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, that's all I got. That is today's update for everything going on with AT&T and comics and these weird decisions. I'll keep you informed as time goes on. Thanks for watching. Give me your thoughts in the comments. What do you guys think about all this? Also, throw a like up. Share the video if you would. Something's going on with YouTube, so you guys sharing the videos really helps. If I see anybody sharing the video on Twitter, I will retweet you as long as I see it. And, yeah, that's it. So leave me your comments. Throw likes up. Share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.